Howdy y'all, it's Chris with Show Up Fitness, your favorite personal trainer with a belt buckle. Today we're going to be going over the difference between a squat and a hinge pattern, talking about the main movers, variations, programming. Before we get in today's video, make sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, leave any comments, send us a DM if you want to receive a copy of How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. Shoot me over an email, I'll send it to you. How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. Alright, so the squat, the hinge, two very complex movements, part of our natural movements that we should be implementing into the gym. Now remember, we're not doing a squat exercise, we're doing a squat movement. We're not doing a bench press, we're doing a pressing movement. The main movement patterns are going to be your squat, your hinge, unilateral, push and pull horizontally and vertically. So we're going to have roughly 6 to 7 patterns. You can throw in a carry, and you have the non-conventional ones, breathing, transitional jumping, and so forth. Today we're going to focus on the squat and hinge. So first, the main difference, squat is more knee dominant. So when we come down at the end of the squat position, our knees are not going to be vertical as they probably should be closer to in the hinge. The hinge is going to be more hip dominant. So the hips are just coming back. It's like a door hinge. The hinge pattern, the deadlift, is going to be, the agonist is primarily glutes, whereas in the squat, the agonist, which is the main mover, is going to be your hip, which will be your glutes, and your knee, which will be your quads. So it's more knee dominant, therefore the quads are more of the agonist. The synergist, which means that the helper, helps out. For the squat pattern, is going to be your hamstrings, back muscle. Remember the 3 hamstring muscles, we got the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and the bicep femoris. The bicep femoris is on the lateral side, so if you feel behind your knee, that guitar string on the outside is your bicep femoris, and then on the medial side, there's 2 guitar strings, which is going to be your semimembranosus and semitendinosus. For the hinge pattern, it's also going to be your hamstrings for the synergist, but also you'll have the erector muscles, which is your low back. Stabilizers, your core, that's why you want to take a big deep breath. We'll talk about breathing here in a second. Variations. For the squat, you're going to have high bar, low bar, front, back, semi-sumo, different positions on with the feet. I suggest getting the Squat Bible, Dr. Horsring. I'm going to screw that up, sorry, bud, but it's a really good book that goes over just the ins and outs of squatting from A to Z. For the hinge, we have a lot of different variations. Sumo, conventional, I'd say were the 2 most popular. Then you're going to get into grip position with your, either it's going to be a grip position or a hook or alternating grip. When should you start doing that? Those are questions that we get a lot. I suggest keeping a pronated grip throughout your deadlift movements until you start getting pretty heavy, which will be less than 5 reps. Then you can start going alternating. That's because you're going to be stronger. Form, where we're going to have improper form, where we're going to see people really break down. For the squat, low back rounded. We get this from the butt wing from teaching people ass to the grass. Everyone needs to squat with our feet parallel and ass to the grass, right? Now, bodies are different, whether if you're tall or if you're shorter. A lot of our basketball players, we're going to go semi-sumo because their femurs are long and the articulation in the hip joint. They're not able to get down into that deep squat. So generally a longer body with a longer femur, your parallel feet position isn't going to be optimal. You need to go a little wider. So vary it, screen people, see how they move, and determine is it mobility problems or stability. And a quick little test that you can do, have them just squat. If they can't get down to that deep position, it could be stability. So that's why you get them on the ground, put them on all fours, rock back and forth to see where their mobility lies. Is it in the ankle? Is it in the hip? You can determine that. Knee valgus. We're squatting, we get a little bit of the knees buckling in. Don't confuse pronation distortion syndrome from Dr. Jonda. Here, which you get eversion, adduction, and internal rotation, where valgus is just the adduction. It's going to be classified as adductors being overactive, weak, glute muscles. Big thing with valgus that concerns me, I give valgus a 0 or a 1, meaning a 1, it's fine, it's not the end of the world. A 0, it could potentially hurt them. So if you have a guy or a girl who has 3-4 pounds on their back, and they come up and you get a little bit of valgus, it's not the end of the world as long as you try to fix it on the back end. If you just let it go untouched and not try to fix it, that's a problem. You're coming down and you get significant valgus because the weight is too heavy, that's when that's a 0. You got to stop that exercise. bump the weight down and work on proper neuromuscular control. I'm a big believer in goblets because goblets are going to recruit the anterior core a lot more, so the form is going to really get cleaned up. So with valgus, with the squat, you can do some tactile things such as pushing their knees in, which will help them externally rotate, get their glutes firing. You could put a band, get the hip thrust bands or whatever they may be, put them on your knees to focus on that external rotation. Hyperextending the neck, I don't know where this comes from, but you'll hear coaches tell to lead with your neck. They come down and then they look up. That's extreme. I tell people to look in the horizon, maybe 5 to 10 degrees up. I don't like eye contact. If you have a ball, some people like to do the tucked variation. My thing is, how much are you lifting? If you have a lot of weight on your back and you're slightly hyperextended, okay, that works for you. It's not going to break your neck. It's not going to break the lift. What works for you? I don't like it when people say you need to do it this way because it works for me. No. So start out, normal neck position, maybe a little higher, a little down, here. If you want to pack it, that's up to you. Vary it to see how your lifts are. We go over here to the hinge pattern. The form breakdown there, you see people start screwing it up, rounded back again. And this could be due for beginners using weights that are too low. So if I have the barbell and I have 5 or 10 pounds, the circumference of those weights are really small. So when I go down to pick it up, watch my back, it's going to dip under. And I don't know if you can't see my back because of the camera, but you're going to get this tuck, and that's what they call the butt wink. So I don't want to start in a position where I'm compromising the integrity of my low back. The thoracic region wants to move. It has that mobility. The lumbar region has about 5 to 15 degrees of range of motion, so there can be slight movement, but you will know from the trained eye, slight movement versus that could potentially be loading spinal flexion. And once you start loading that spine, when it's flexed, the percentage of pressure on the low back is just insane. It's like Dean Somerset said one time, it's like 5-7 times the amount of force production. That's pretty damn high. Lockout or hyperextension. So when we come up, people don't understand a posterior tilt to tuck under, which the glutes, the lower portions of the gluteus maximus perform. So when we come up, we squeeze here. You see this today when people come back. You just come up, hump the bar straight ahead. That's a posterior tilt versus hyperextension. People are squatting the deadlift. So I'll have people say, when I deadlift, my quads get big. Well, you're not deadlifting because that's a knee-dominant movement, which would be your squat. So you're probably just either doing trap bar or doing some type of squat when you're deadlifting. Your shins should be fairly vertical. If you're semi-sumo, whatever it may be, there will be some slight variations with that, but your shins should pretty much look like that. Maybe slightly over, it's okay. Shoulders obviously over the bar slightly as well. Neck position, another one. People like to lead with their neck. They come up, pretend like you have a ball when we're deadlifting. I'm here. And you're coming up, squeezing the top. Lack of lat engagement. So if you watched my shirt, I will create some wrinkles when I engage my lats. So I come down, I'm soft here, no lat engagement. When I pull back and internally rotate, when I crush a lemon or if someone's hands are in my armpits, or take the bar, smash it on your shins. When I do that, I'm engaging my lats. So I'm down here, soft. This is not optimal. Coming back in. So I'm crushing, I'm pulling my shirt together. Scapulas into your back pockets. Whatever cue helps with the individual to engage their lats. I give them a nice little smack back there so they understand. Because when it comes to the posterior chain, proprioceptively, most people are having a hard time with the auditory cueing, engage your lats. What the heck does that mean? So you need to coach them. Slap their lats a little bit, teach them, get a band, put it on the bar, pull it, so then they have to pull it back into their body. Remember, the lats extend, adduct, internally rotate. They also do 4 other things. They depress the scapula. So when we pull it back, we're slightly depressing the scapula and rotating and extending. So we're getting all hand abduction. We're getting pretty much everything that the lats do. So it's like you're locking in the lats that will help with that lift. What was the last little thing I wanted to talk about for the form of the hinge? I think that was it. Oh, here we go. The bar positioning and jerking. So people will come down and they'll start the lift in this position and then they come down and up. So watch how down, then up. That's not how we want to deadlift. You want to push away from the ground. That's why some people will put a deadlift into a push pattern. Well, whatever you want to do, but you're pushing away from the ground, so you set yourself, engage your lats, push away. Iron Man, Superman, when they come down on the ground and they push, they break the ground, right? So that's what you want to do when you're deadlifting. You engage your lats. Don't initiate the deadlift by a descent. You want to put tension into the bar and then drive it up. Some questions on belts, wraps. Remember what the Valsalva maneuver is? That's holding your breath. So your core is tight because you're not allowing air to leave your body, which creates intra-abdominal pressure. So when you have a belt, it's going to stabilize your spine. I'm all for a belt, and you should probably be using it at 80+%, which means a weight you can lift 5 to 8 times. So if you're warming up, if you're going up to the bar with knee wraps on, and wrist wraps, and a belt at 135 pounds, why? Use a belt for heavy loads. With that being said, with the Valsalva, make sure if you are spotting someone, you don't spot the deadlift, you be at the side. But if they're going real heavy, there is a likelihood they can get a little dizzy and pass out. So spot, as in watching the individual. If they start getting a little woozy, have a chair so you can direct them into it. Shoes, you do not want to have thick shoes like this for a deadlift. You want to have a platform, something almost like bowling shoes for the squat, because it's going to allow you to get more, it gives you artificial dorsiflexion, so you can get greater range of motion. For deadlift, they're going to tell you Chucks, Converse, or just no shoes. That's going to be best. When it comes to programming, own the basics. I'm going to go against the grain here. Squat and deadlift every day. Now, how do you get better at shooting free throws? You shoot free throws every day. You're not going to load up with heavy weight every single day. But if you're going to have if Monday is going to be your squat day, you do 5x5, great. Tuesday, at the end of your chest workout, if you want nice abs, why not do 3 or 4 sets of 20-25 on goblets? Between sets on a back day, work on the hinge pattern. Pull the band down and just work on the programming. Do 100 reps every single day of each one of those patterns so you can program proper mechanics. Because here's what happens. When you go real heavy, your brain goes into the fight or flight response and you lose most control of proper form. You're coming down here, you lose that form. When you're squatting real heavy, you lean forward. So practice, practice, practice every day. Different exercise, but the same pattern. So shoulder day on Thursday, maybe you're going to be doing a vertical pressing day. Incorporate front squats into your pressing day. Do some presses there, vertical presses, and then as your break, again, you want nice abs? Do front squat, 4 or 5 sets of 15, lightweight, just work on the mechanics. For squatting, big toe, little toe, heel. You want to avoid eversion, which is your ankles going in. You have the lateral and medial malleolus, when that sucker drives into the ground, that's in proper form. Knees tracking through your toes. Generally, for the hinge pattern, I don't like programming more than 8 reps. And I got this advice from Tim Enriquez, and he was some of my program that I wrote out one time. He's like, oh, you're doing too many reps. Just focus on lower reps, own the mechanics. I agree with him, I would prefer to program variations with the force velocity curve. So go heavy 5x5, and the next time you do deadlifts, maybe do 7x4. And that 4 would be at maybe 75%, so you're working on more of the velocity of the movement, not just heavy weights. So that's the difference between your squat and hinge. Primarily hip dominant for the hinge or the deadlift, knee dominant for the squat, more quads. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email or a text. Make sure, you can show me a text, that's fine. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. Thanks for watching.